Hey y'all, welcome back to another video. So this video is mainly going to be about the time while I was in Florida for break, and pretty much about all the fish I caught while I was there. Alright, so let's not waste y'all's time and get right into this video. It starts up for when I left for Florida during break. So I got there, saw some family, but here's where the fishing part really starts. So my dad has a creek in his backyard, right? So just on a random cloudy day, I was out there fishing. I had a curly-tail grub with a bobber. I think it was yellow. No, it was yellow. So I just saw a blow-up happen near a tree back there. So I just cast it out and barely reeled it in. And I was on my first ever freshwater Florida fish for probably 5 years. So I was there, so I just reeled it in, and it was a beautiful bluegill. By the way, here's some photos of it. So anyway, about 30 minutes later, I believe, I was just reeling in my lure back in. So it was a different lure because my first one got snagged and snapped off on a tree branch. So all of a sudden, boom! It just hits it, and I reeled in, and it's an even smaller bluegill than before. But it was still pretty good. So for the next few days of fishing there, I tried my dad's backyard creek, but caught nothing. But I did see a school of good 1 to 2 pound bass swim through there. But shocker, they didn't bite. I tried the part of the creek that was at a tiny bridge near my dad's house. I saw some good sized bass jumping farther out into the creek. And another school swam by me at one point, but I caught none of them. I even tried the lake where I was fishing at an old boat launch that used to be there. But still caught nothing there. But probably mainly due to the weather, because I may live up north, but I'm going to be perfectly honest, I was kind of shocked that it was that cold in Florida. So anyway, me and a friend of mine, J&J Production Studios, by the way, go subscribe to his channel, we went fishing at a pond and saw a ton of bass. He let me use some of his lures, which is pretty nice of him, and some good 3-pounders, but we caught none of them. We were there for 1 or 2 hours. But anyway, this is where my luck finally turns around. So break is about to end, right? And I was about to head back up north. So one day I went to my grandparents' house, and they have a pond near the condo. So obviously I had to fish it. So I was fishing with a pink crankbait. That's what I was really using the entire time. Saw some bass jump, but they didn't bite. So I saw some snapping turtles. Here are some photos of them, by the way. So anyway, there were some plants in the middle of them, so I just decided to cast out to it, and something tried to bite it. It was on the surface too. I didn't even move it, every single time. So I thought it was a snapping turtle, so I pulled it back up, but curiosity got the better of me, and I put it back in, and a couple seconds later, it hit, and I pulled it back in a third time, then something got hooked on it. I reeled it in, and it was the biggest bluegill I've ever caught. So I was talking with my grandparents later, and they said I was the first person to catch a fish in that pond for 2 years. So anyway, me and my dad went pond hopping a couple days later. We went to a ton of ponds, and my dad had a good 1 or 2 pound bass on at the very first pond we went to, but it got unhooked the second we got it close to us. So finally, after some time, we hit this one pond that looks like nobody has fished it often. So I was just using my pink crankbait, like always, and I feel a hit on my lure. There were a ton of vegetation and lay pads in that pond, so I thought it was just that. So I reeled it in, and then all of a sudden, a bass jumps out of the water, and at that moment I realized I was on my first ever Florida bass. So when I got it to shore, me and my dad were so excited to see it, so I took the fish out, and here are the photos of my first ever bass. So not even 15 minutes later, I felt it again. I still thought it was vegetation, but then the same thing happened as before. And it jumped out, and I landed my second Florida bass. Now here's the photo of this one. Alright, so maybe 20 minutes later, all of a sudden my dad screams for me. And I look over, and all I see is his rod bending down so far, and the drag ripping. So I run over there, and he holds it on and gets it pretty close, but then all of a sudden the rod snaps right in half. So he tries to handline it, but the handline snaps too. Of course it does. We think it was an 8 to 10 pound bass, but he had a light rod and 8 pound line, which is usually great for ponds, but, in this case it wasn't. So after that, we just went to a restaurant and ate appetizers. So then the next day, we did one last day of pond hopping, and the first pond we went to was a golf course pond. So I was still using my pink crankbait. Like 80% of all my fish I caught in Florida was on the pink crankbait. Anyway, we were fishing there for about 25 minutes or so, and I reeled my lure like really fast, and then all of a sudden my line started moving. I reeled it up. It was just a tiny little bass that probably weighed less than a pound. So in the end, I landed 5 fish and lost one. And I lost that one at a huge pond, which here's a photo of it. So then the next couple days, I left Florida to head back up north. But I would like to say one thing. Dad, thank you so much for getting me into fishing and helping me improve my skills. And Mom, thank you so much for encouraging me to fish. And thank both of you for giving me the opportunity in life to go fishing. Love you, Mom and Dad. Also, to end the video off, go subscribe to my friend Joker and possible collaboration with him in spring. Alright guys, later, and also go subscribe to him. Later, y'all.